Hello, it's Alexia here. Now, I want to talk about where do you start when you're feeling broken? And this is prompted by a message I've received from someone, and I started writing, and I thought, no, this needs more. So, hence me jumping on a video. And so, this person is very heartbroken. They get themselves into relationships that don't work. The people end up treating them really badly. And one of the things they said was that they really wanted to be okay with being on their own. But added to that, life is overwhelming. They're just being overwhelmed by work, the responsibilities of work life, family life, and just feeling overall burnt out. And when we're in that place, it can be really easy to just feel hugely overwhelmed, and we don't really know which way to turn and what to do. Now, the way that I look at things is that the way out of this is to start healing your shit, right? And I call that clearing your head trash. And so you can do that using what's in my book. Now, I make that really easy because I want you to be able to heal your own shit, right? Because it's much better if we can take charge of our own emotional journey. And then we're in control of it rather than constantly going to see something like a therapist or something that you can take ages and it costs a lot of money. And, whereas when you're doing that yourself, you can get there much quicker and you are in charge of that process. So if you're feeling burnt out, the problem with being in a place like that is that you don't often have a lot of mental energy or motivation. And so that can really get in your way of kind of being consistent with the effort that you need to make. So for example, if you're overweight and you've got to go running every other day and you just can't leave the house and do that because it's too hard, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Because you do need to kind of make an effort to put time aside consistently to do clearance work. Now, I'm going to talk about clearance work because my process, head trash clearance, is all about clearing. And so that's what I mean by clearing. But you can replace that word with healing. But I'm all about DIY healing as much as possible. So what I'm going to be talking about is clearance work. And what I mean by that is writing down all the things that you need to clear. And so how do you know what you need to clear? A really good place to start is writing down all the things that really annoy the hell out of you, like really, like people that wind you up, situations that stress you out, anything that gets you really anxious, really stressed, just write it out on a big list. So you could be writing things like, and so like humiliates me or talks down at me or ignores me, or when they're rude to me, when they shout, when they exaggerate. I mean, I don't know what those things are, right? Everyone's different. So just write down all of those things that annoy the hell out of you, that kind of rile you up and get you really wound up, right? And that list could be quite big. I don't know how easily it wound up you are, right? But write that list down. Now, once you've written that list down, you can go over that list and you might be able to spot some themes. So there might be, the rudeness, respect theme could be coming out quite strongly, where maybe you really don't like people talking over you, you don't like people ignoring you, you don't like people using swear words, you don't like people, so all of that kind of, you look at that together and you think, well, that's probably rudeness and respect and treating people kindly, that you put that together. Whereas there might be other themes that emerge where you might be saying, well, I can't stand the mess in my house and the chaos and the kids leave their stuff everywhere and it's messy and I don't know what's going on. And then also, well, I need to know what's going on next week. We've got to make plans because if I don't know what's going on, then I feel a bit, so these are kind of talking to the theme of control, where, because there's a mess everywhere, you feel disorganized and not in control. And if you don't know what's happening next week with the plans for next week, you can't prepare, but also you don't feel in control of what's happening. So there's potentially a control theme going on there. So once you look at your list, you might start regrouping them a little bit and go, actually, there's a few control things going on there. There's a bit of stuff around change or uncertainty, or you might see some themes emerging. And the reason I'm inviting you to look at themes is because that can really shortcut your time, because I'm all about doing this as quickly as possible. We haven't got life's too short to be spent stressed like being in a mess, right? So let's just make this process as quick as possible. So working with themes can really shortcut this for you, because on the one hand, what you could do is do a clearance on people being rude, people swearing at you, but all these things that are around that sort of rudeness and respect vibe. But if you distill it into the theme and the value that is represented by this theme, what you'll tend to find there is that value relates to one of your core values. So if you don't like it that people are rude and they talk over you and they ignore you and all of those things, you'll probably that's probably because you have a value of respect, and they're contradicting, they're kind of treading on that value for you. And so all of those spin-offs are just different ways of people being disrespectful. So instead of working on all of those different clearances, that you could just work on respect, and then they would all kind of collapse. They'd all be contained within that, right? That's why I'm inviting you to do these themes, because it can just save you loads of time and get you big results quickly, right? So once you've written out all your list of all the things that annoy the hell out of you, then just start clearing them. It's as simple as that. Get that list written out, distill it so that it doesn't look scary as a list, and then just start putting the time aside and doing the work. So in terms of doing the work using head trash clearance, again, I'm going to show you my book so you know when. Oh my God, I've just dropped my speaker. Where did I put my book? There it is. There's the book. So the process is all in there, right? So you can do that yourself. I've also got a membership site where I've written all the stuff out, created loads of resources to help you clear by theme, right? So to make it super, super easy for you to do that. But you work through each item. So working on one item will take you anything between 10 minutes and 20, 25 minutes, depending on how that goes for you, because we've all got different levels of intensity and energy and emotional trapped energy around stuff. But I would budget half an hour to do a clearance, half an hour, 45 minutes. So at the beginning, you're not going to know what you're doing. You're like, oh, what am I doing? Is this working? Blah, blah, blah. You'll be doing all that. And you're writing notes and, you're checking and all that stuff, which will take time. And then you'll get better at it. You're going to know what you're doing. And so after about 4 or 5 clearances, you'll be like, well, know what I'm doing now, blah, 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 and you'll be able to bang them out in 15, 20 minutes, right? So it's really up to you and how you get into that. But you can start seeing results very, very quickly. So let me give you some indications of how quickly you can start seeing results, because I think that's probably what you really want to know. You're burnt out, you're feeling like the world is against you and things are just feeling terrible on all sides. So how quickly can I change this, right? So if you have a list of, let's say, 25 things on your list, and let's say you did 1, or let's say you did 2 a day, and you every other day, because maybe every day is a bit too much, but you should be able to do it even if you did 1 a day. In a month, you're going to have done loads of work, right? And you could make a massive impact in how you're feeling in that month. Within a month, if you do 1 a day, you will not be feeling the same burnt out. You will not be feeling, you'll probably be able to sleep a lot better. You won't have the racing mind that'll be affecting you as you go to bed. So your quality of sleep means you're going to be much better equipped emotionally to deal with what's going on, because when we're tired, we just can't handle things in the same way. Let me just share a story with you about somebody. She joined my membership club, the Clearance Club, where I create lots of things there for you, making it super easy and quick for you to be able to do this DIY healing. She joined, she had depression, she couldn't leave the house, she was stuck in bed, like in the fetal position, crying most days. That's what she told me, panic attacks, that kind of thing. And within 2 months, with what I provide in the Clearance Club, she was able to heal herself of her depression and her tocophobia, which is the extreme fear of birth and pregnancy, which is something that I used to have. So I've got lots of stuff in the Clearance Club for that as well. And she did that on her own. And she told me that she did 1 clearance a day. So I'm sharing that with you because it's important to know where the end of the road is, so that you can kind of psych yourself up for it. Because when we're feeling low like that, when we're feeling like we're struggling on all fronts, we need to know how long the road is and how long we've got to keep walking, right? So until we can kind of, it's like when you go walking with kids, are like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And you don't want to tell them, you want to lie to them, because you're going to have a meltdown on your hands, right? You say, no, we're just up to that hill there, and then we're done. It's downhill from there on in. That's what I want to share with you, is that if you do put that effort in a month to 6 weeks, you can really start seeing massive, massive changes. But you do need to put the time in and the effort. It's not going to happen on its own. So go back to your list, write down the things that you're super, super stressed about, the things that are really getting you down, the things that really sap your energy, sap your sense of personal power, that really upset you, that make you anxious, that worry you, and just write that stuff out. that is really the first load of inner work that is necessary. In tandem with this, or after this, another thing that you will need to look at beyond, because that's not the only thing, right? There's the healing journey kind of never ends, really, because there's always new stuff happening to us in life, right? You can't go, oh, I've done that now, done. You might absolutely reach a place where you feel content and happy and at peace inside, but there's always going to be life things happening that might bring new stuff up for you. We just don't know. So it's always to be prepared that this is an ongoing process, not a one with a finite end. But the other huge important aspect that you need to think about healing are your traumas, your unresolved traumas. And these are, a lot of these wounds will go back to your childhood, your rejection, abandonment, guilt, trust issues. I mean, there's rejection, there's so many that can be there, but there are many that we've all got to some degree. And if we haven't kind of dealt with that, we haven't healed that, then we're going to be carrying the energy of that stuff. And those traumas will be feeding these triggers. So the triggers are things I've just asked you to write on your list, all those things that trigger your stress, right? They're going to be feeding all that stuff. So you can heal those triggers and those things that induce stress for you. But the traumas are going to kind of, as long as those traumas are still there, there's a risk that some of that stuff isn't going to be fully healed. So working on those traumas as well is, I think, a really important part of this process. And again, to make this super easy for you, I've recorded trauma healings for all of the main childhood wounds, and they're in the Clearance Club as well. And they're a very different way of working, because I've made it super easy for you, if this is something that you want to do, because you just have to listen to the audio and let it kind of wash over you. Whereas doing clearance using the process that I outline in the book is a bit more of an active process, and you have to kind of work through it and think it through and focus on things. And it's not a passive process. Whereas the wound healing, the trauma healing stuff, is a lot more passive, but it's very, very deep and very, very potent, let me say. So this is how you can start getting out of this burnout place, of a place where everything just feels overwhelming and you kind of lost all emotional strength. And once you start feeling stronger, you can start getting yourself into a place where you can start making some, like, going, oh, actually, no, I really want to address how I am in relationships, and how relationships, why is it that people treat me like this, and why is it that, where are my boundaries, where are my, you can start looking at areas in your life, because you can start thinking about it a bit more. You don't feel so heavy with everything. Whereas when you're kind of overwhelmed there, it can just feel like it's just too heavy, and I can't even think straight. I can't even think about looking at my relationship, or the way I am with money, or the way that I am at my work, or these different areas of life. Sometimes that can feel too overwhelming. So often it's a great place to start with all the things that stress you out, because that's the reason I invite you to do that, is because, one, it's super easy to write out the things that stress you out. That's dead easy, right? Everybody knows the things that really annoy them. And then it's also dead easy just to follow instructions that I've written out in my book. To clear it, you just have to follow instructions. There's no kind of other thinking required. Whereas when you start thinking about how you are with your boundaries, and how you are in the way that you work and your relationships, that requires you to really start mulling things through, maybe bringing up some painful memories that, again, requires emotional strength or energy that you just might not feel that you have it when you're in this burnout place. So I would kind of park that stuff until later, and for now, just focus on the things that are really stressing you out, things that are really overwhelming you, and the things that are causing you upset and anxiety. And once you've kind of dealt with those, you'll feel much stronger and better able to work on those things that come next, that are going to help you to feel more okay with being on your own, or having a better sense of personal sovereignty, or just feeling more content with life as you have it and how it is for you. So I hope that's been helpful for you. If you have any questions on anything that I've shared, then just pop them in the comments below. Okay, bye.